So Magia Record finally comes out after a pretty decent wait. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the first season came out at the beginning of last year, meaning that this was like, what, a year and a half or so, give or take? I imagine had the world not imploded, we might have got this maybe a season or two earlier. But nonetheless, I mean, the first episode came back swinging. It basically said, hey, if you wanted to feel like you were back in a classic Madoka Magica episode, here you go. And Magia Record was, honestly, on a production level, so goddamn impressive. The first series, the TV series of Madoka Magica, it looked good as a TV standalone, but when they did the Blu-rays and actually touched it up, that's where it really blew up on the visual department. Where with Magia Record, all the way throughout all 13 episodes, it was some of the best shaft work we have personally seen. So, as much as I'd love to say, oh, this is some of the best we've ever seen, in terms of a production level, I mean, Magia Record was pretty much it was the peak of what this team has to offer, and this first episode was no exception. Now, I know this show does come out on a Saturday. Season 2 is going to be 8 episodes. That is what it's listed for. There is a Season 3, or quote-unquote a final season, that will be starting up in December. Some people are thinking that it's going to be like both of them are going to be 8 episodes, but I believe the final season is listed with 2 discs. Meaning that's probably 4 or 5 episodes, so most likely we're going to have 13 episodes for like the Season 2, Season 3 combined, meaning that Magia Record's probably a 26 episode anime, which seems like a pretty good length if you ask me. Now, I never played the game, I only watched the anime. I know the first season of Magia Record wasn't everyone's cup of tea. I think this episode is probably going to get a lot more people to check out Magia Record if the internet is anything to go off of. I mean, I just saw a couple of screen grabs and gifs and things like that, and it seemed like a lot of people were talking about Magia Record more so than usual, because I loved the first season. I thought the different approach to Madoka was very refreshing. It wasn't a rehash, but I mean, I had from people being like, are you gonna review it? Are you gonna review it? Are you gonna review it? Like, I was getting pestered the past couple of days, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna review it. I reviewed the first season. I was one of the rare ones who did, while also announcing that I had plans to do it. It's just, given the weekend structure for me, I haven't really had an easy weekend for anime videos in like a year, so having 2 shows on Saturday, 2 shows on Sunday seems like a nice quota for me, so Magia Record will be probably coming out on Monday. Maybe things will change, maybe I'll do it earlier sometimes, but for the foreseeable future, I think Monday seemed like a good day alongside To Your Eternity. So, if you do enjoy these videos and you want to continue seeing the Magia Record content, I really would appreciate those likes, those comments. Even if you're just saying, hey, that does go a long way to help promote the videos, and especially because I'm doing this 2 days late, quote-unquote. I mean, a lot less people are going to be coming to these, and I love talking about the first season, so I just want to get that out of the way. In terms of the actual episode here, absolutely breathtaking. I think focusing on classic characters from the main series, and pretty much kicking off seemingly after the events of, because if memory serves me right, I haven't ever rewatched Magia Record. I only watched it originally when it came out week after week. Mommy went on a rampage. I think the entire building kind of crumbled and everyone sunk to darkness is pretty much like how they ended that. Something along those natures. And to see like Sayaka and then Homura and then Madoka, and just seeing them all pretty much come to the conclusion of how screwed they are in this timeline, it's pretty interesting because, I mean, if you really think about, like, the action in the main series, I mean, it was the intro, they were kind of screwed more often than not, but then they got really accustomed and you were just watching some badass shit take place, and when characters died, you're just like, oh god, this really is something powerful, where with here, with where they're currently at, they're facing something that is, well, on a visual level, pretty menacing, but even as the characters themselves admit, isn't all that powerful and is actually considered weak, especially in comparison to the other city, where that's where the real witches sleep, and that's true power. So, if these 3 can't deal with this current one, they're never going to make it to that city. They're never going to be able to save Mommy. And it's interesting seeing characters like Sayaka, like, push back against Homura, because clearly there's something amiss there, and you can see the tension brewing as you have that bubbly, carefree positivity of Madoka, who is just saying, no, we have to be friends. It pretty much blended all that classic Season 1 of Madoka Magica energy and just really ran with it with a production of Magia Record. I mean, I was blown away by how good the fight scene looked. I mean, Homura she always had my favorite ability the whole time thing and just like the numerous guns I thought was so cool. So to see them towards the end of this episode pretty much freeze it as they're all combining their abilities together. We're having one run while another is basically being dragged behind because she's just there to keep everything frozen, as Madoka herself is launching a variety of missiles, which is just her arrows. As then when it finally comes back, you see this giant explosion as Sayaka comes in and kicks some ass and takes some names. It was really nice. I thought like the build up to like seeing like where the fracturing was happening, because Homura has been trying time and time and time again to save Madoka, and now for her this seems like this might actually work out, which is different than what we're used to, because it's interesting having something feel like classic Madoka Magica while also spinning it in a way that we never got to see. And what I mean is, in the main series, right, we got to see it as like, okay, so there's clearly some weird shit going on, this very emotionally distraught Homura, what's going on? And then when we realized what was happening with her, we got kind of like a montage of all her failed attempts to get us into her psyche and what eventually emotionally broke her. So to see her in a state where she's still very carefree and is actually still positive that she might be able to change the future even after basically failing so many times, but having that set in a Magia Record style story, it's a really interesting turn of events that lets it feel classic but new all at the same time. And I'm sure many people, when they first walked into the season 1 of Magia Record, they wanted something like this from the get-go, but I think Magia Record's characters were great. I really, really do. And we get a snippet and a taste of where their stories are going to go after the credits there, which it was a nice song, and you know, the credits are playing, you get a little bit of visuals here. I'm sure there will actually be an official ending song. I doubt what we saw will actually be the animation for it, but then again, maybe that's how they're going to do it, just having like a little box play as the screen just rolls its credits. But we get to see what happened to Iroha's sister, which is something that I don't believe Season 1 confirmed. I think maybe they did, it's been a hot minute, but they showed us 100% where she is. And that was a pretty explosive cliffhanger if you ask me, especially for an episode that I didn't think we were going to touch upon these characters at all. Obviously I knew in Season 2 we would, because they were the main characters of the show. I was told, now I could be mistaken here, but I was told that this episode, in terms of what it adapts, might actually be the first thing you experience in the game. And if that's true, I really like how the anime rearranged it with like Season 1's content and then kicking off Season 2 with this. That's a pretty cool structure, but then again, maybe this is exactly how it's supposed to go. But that's a really cool structuring if they did rearrange it, and it kind of shows like what anime can do when adapting a source material, because sometimes a lot of people think you just need to go chronologically, page for page, chapter by chapter for adapting a game, where anime can pick and choose and recreate the story, but keeping the essence there to make something that feels a lot more organic, which I really like. I mean, for me, I'm just happy to see Magia Record back. I have no idea where they're going to go with the next 7 episodes before we have to have a couple month break before kicking back into this show. But I'm glad they're going to be taking that break. I mean, with the world and the state it's in, you never know when lockdowns happen, you never know when this or that's going to happen. Just the number of pieces to make this on a visual level work, and I even mentioned, like, the sound design is another beast. It's incredible to see how good the voices get distorted and manipulated depending on the magic type shit on screen. This is a production that needs a fine-tooth comb to go over every little inch of it, and I think a couple month break for the last 4 or 5 episodes, however many it's gonna be, is definitely, I think, should be supported, because the last thing we want is a goofy looking Magia Record, because this show definitely set a standard for Shaft, and it's pretty impressive what Shaft was able to do, because a lot of the key staff that used to work at Shaft then went to David Production. That's why Fire Force looks so good. Like, so it's nice to see that they still have their charm going on, and I'm very excited for more. Classic feeling, while still kind of feeling like Magia Record, while shifting what we thought we knew about the characters in certain timelines, which was really fun. And you always love seeing Kyubey. I love that character. It's so logical, and it's like, you never asked if you could turn into witches. It's like, I love that nonchalant, don't give a shit attitude. He's pure logic, he's chaos, but you gotta love Kyubey. Let me know down below what you're feeling. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.